We will call to order the USD 489 school board meeting for January 22nd, 2024. I want to start by welcoming our new members, and sorry we've had such bad weather and hadn't been able to have a meeting till now, but it's good to see all of you here. And so we'll go ahead and get started tonight. If I can have a motion to approve the agenda.
I would so move.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Are we going in, is there any executive session on schedule?
No, there is not at this time.
Okay. Can I make an amendment to the agenda?
Yes.
I would like to add executive session so we can hear from our board president about how the meeting went with Mr. Wilson in review of the evaluation before we vote on administrative contracts.
Second it. All right, so was that a motion to amend the agenda?
I would like to add, we go into executive session for 5 to 10 minutes so we can hear from you how the meeting went, or a summary of how the meeting went with Mr. Wilson that you had about the evaluation that you said that it occurred before I'm asked to vote on this contract.
Okay.
So I'm asking to add
All right.
executive session.
Is there any further discussion on that? All right, we'll go ahead and I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as written, but to add a executive session. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
All those opposed say no. No. All right. Jess, how did that come up? Oh, okay. Oh, did you already got there?
Motion carried 5-2.
Okay. All right, then we will add that. If you will add that, we have as 6.1 the administrator contract, so it needs to be before that.
Should be like 7.4.
And Mr. Jeter, we need to signify who all will be in that meeting, and
You'll need to make a specific motion at that time.
Okay.
On executive session.
Okay.
The only thing you did was just add it on the agenda. Vote to go into executive session.
okay. All right, so that has been approved. At this time, I'll ask Kurt Viner to read our district mission.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me a second. I updated. The mission of the USD 49 is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. To support the mission of the district, the USD 49 Board of Education includes supporting a vision that encompasses high student achievement, highly effective staff, effective and positive communications, effective management of resources. Also, vital to keeping focus on the district's mission and vision are that of the USD 49 Board of Education supports the district's core values, being a champion for all kids, bringing your best every day, carrying the banner for your school and district, and selling and creating possibilities and opportunities for our students for their futures.
Thank you. All right, and then at this time, we're at the consent agenda. Mr. Wilson, can you tell us?
Yep, I'll run through what's on the consent agenda this evening. You're going to find board meeting minutes from December 11th and December 21st, which was a special board meeting. You'll find a revised supplemental request for a one-time funding. For new board members, back in September, ECC wrote a grant, federal Head Start grant, to get funded for a 47-passenger Bluebird bus for transportation for specifically early childhood students, because it has some harnessing features in the bus. At that time, the board approved to go ahead and move with the grant. However, in the meantime, and this is how our world works, is prices on the bus went up, and the grant had not been awarded. We have since been awarded the grant, and so we have the grant, but the bus is actually $5,000 more. Once again, what Donna did was resubmit for the additional amount, and so this bus is 100% funded through federal Head Start grant funds. And so it's really no cost to the district, but just making the board aware that once you get approved, we'll go ahead and do the purchase order for the bus. And it'll be a while before it gets here, but that's on the consent. Also, Donna has a report there for you. We have site council minutes from Roosevelt, O'Laughlin, and Wilson. Also, you have some agenda and minutes from HRC. Personnel transactions are there. We don't have any retirements this evening, but lots of some employments and resignations. As we start every year in January, there's always a big glut of those. Financials, I don't know if Chris has some things.
I think under the bond tracking, we're able to combine, still working to make sure we get the easiest way to see it, but I think I like our expense report now, so you can see bond expenditures month by month, so you'll see the transaction detail for purchases towards projects in the bond, and then below that is the total budget, total budget, how we progress through that. So each month we'll update that for you.
All those are on the website, the ones that you present tonight? Are
Yeah.
they listed underneath those categories? Awesome. Thank you.
Wait now. The list of bills, all of that stuff is.
All these reports that you, on the bond, are they available to the public on our website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the list of bills, you won't see the bond expenditures because that's actually through Security Bank. So you see the list of bills. I just making sure that's a good question. Yes, everything that's there is on the website.
So I guess, can the public see, like, how much has already been spent by the bond and where it's been?
Everything that you see there is in Word docs.
Okay.
To the public, anybody can.
Is it in board docs, but not underneath those listings of
Yeah,
the
no,
bond? The
you
bond.
click on it and it opens up, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Wilson, on buses and vehicles that Head Start own, does the district pay the maintenance, the fuel, the insurance, or is that paid by Head Start? Do they pay all that?
Russ Henningson's in the, Donna?
Yeah, we pay the maintenance for that and the fuel, and then as part of the in-kind match, Russ provides the drivers to account for our match that we need to provide.
And what about insurance for each vehicle?
We cover,
Prorate out.
all the insurance, so we cover our share of the insurance.
How many vehicles does Head Start own now?
Okay, let me think. Russ, you might have to help me, but we have the bus that we're currently using and one backup bus. Now, the bus that we're currently using, once we get the new bus, we're going to request a disposal of the bus because it's being too costly to keep it in shape enough to be used. So we will eliminate that bus once the new one arrives. As far as like vehicles that the parent educators drive for home visits and those type of things, I would say we have 7. I'd have to count for sure. But
So about 9 vehicles total?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, can we ask that as a new board member, those speaking, if they could come forward, address to us who they are and how long they've been, what they do with the district, so we kind of get faces with who they are? Is anybody opposed to that?
Oh, yeah. Donna, you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry.
Just to put a name with a face kind of helps you sometimes know what everybody does in the district. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I'm Donna Hudson Hamilton. I'm the Director of Early Childhood Services here for the school district. And we have Head Start, Early Head Start, Parents as Teachers, and State Pre-K services.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
Any other questions about the bus? Okay.
No, thank you, though. All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So
I
moved.
moved. Oh.
All
I'll
right,
second it then.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed say no. It is passed. All right, this brings us to our public comment. And I usually have rules to read on here, but I don't have them and don't have them memorized.
If someone's, oh, okay,
We do have some.
yeah.
If Mr. Wilson, if you could read them, I don't have, like I said, I don't have them on
I can
here.
find- Hold on.
You got a 3-minute timer. They're not on now.
Okay, don't break the rules.
Yes. There's rules right here.
Okay.
Do you want
Do you
to
like that?
What's that?
Do you need to read those?
Yeah, you can read them or bring them. I'll read them for you if you want. Thanks.
It won't count against your 3 minutes.
Yeah. I don't want you to have to do. All right. So, thank you. Okay, and so the board requests that all members of the public respect the rules outlined that I'm presenting, so that everyone that wants an opportunity to provide input will be given the chance. Except to ask clarifying questions, board members shall not interact with speakers at the open forum. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes to make their presentation. Speakers are asked to make only points that have not been made previously, and the board asks that all members of the public respect these rules so that everyone that wants an opportunity to provide that input that has not already been given will have the chance. Thank you. And the one thing that's not on here, if you will state your name and your address.
My name is Kay Shippey, and I live at 212 West 34th Street here in Hayes. And I would like to express appreciation and thank you to the board members on behalf of the Hayes NEA. It is National School Board Appreciation Month, so we wanted to just express our thank you to the board members and a welcome to the new board members as well. Your willingness to serve shows your commitment and dedication to our district. The Hayes NEA would also like to provide a token of appreciation to the board with a sweet treat this evening. So, Craig, you can share those. Kurt, excuse me, Kurt. If you'd like to pass those down when you're ready. Those are from the Hayes NEA. So just thank you for your time. Your personal commitment to our district's mission of providing a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day is appreciated. And I have been fortunate to have been a teacher here in USD 489 for 33 years. And I have experience teaching in every elementary building here in the district as not just a classroom teacher, but now currently a reading specialist. So I've been given that opportunity through that position. And the district is in the midst of some significant upgrades to our facilities, thanks to the strong leadership of the school board and our current administration. And this strong leadership has also promoted a positive attitude and strong working relationship throughout the district. Mr. Wilson and all the administrators have worked hard to keep the district moving forward by keeping the lines of communication open between staff and administrators. Superintendent Wilson and Assistant Superintendent Dinkle are both visible in our schools on a regular basis. And those frequent visits show their commitment to our staff and their interest in what's happening with students in our buildings on a daily basis. The Hayes NEA looks forward to working with the new school board and our current administration to ensure we keep moving in this positive direction to improve the quality of education for all the students in USD 489. So thank you again for all you do, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Luke O'Borney, and I live at 1720 Wheatland Avenue. Board members, thank you for your time this evening for me to speak very briefly. I come to you as a constituent, a father who has either had or has 3 children going through the district. husband of an educator in this district. Some of you may or may not be aware, I'm actually a previous board member in this district, and a very strong supporter of our community and community engagement. And I guess, so why am I here? I've just witnessed a lot of public negativity at some of the past board meetings, maybe lack of support, social media posts that are just not in support of our current administration. And I'm very big on transparency, so I just kind of want to look back at the last couple of years. And interestingly enough, I was listening and I was trying to make sure I follow the rules. I don't want to emphasize anything that Kay mentioned as well, but like the first one I think of is employee negotiations. The growth that we have seen in employee negotiations in the past couple of years has just been tremendous. And do they always get along? The answer is absolutely no, and I don't think they should. But there's definitely a mutual respect that is formed and a betterment to work together with the resources that are available to make this district great and put the educational needs first. And that's happened, and those changes have happened. I think Kay kind of covered this one, but stability and turnover in the district has gone down, which is great. You know, in any position, whether we're talking banking or you know, where I work, turnover is a nightmare. You know, you lose so much in training and you restart. You know, I mean, you know, it's just once something's in motion, it's easier to stay in motion, and so turnover is just that killer. We passed a bond. You know, I mean, and this is good for our students and our community. Dare I say this was something that I failed at twice on my administration. And so, one more time, we passed a bond. So my next point goes without saying, community support for our district is high. You know, we have a ton of educators here today. If you're an educator in our district or in any district, would you stand? You know, we have a lot of support. We have a lot of educators here. And all of these points and all of these people just support our students, and these are very positive accomplishments. You know, and again, I served on this board from 2015 to 2019. During that time, in that short period, I actually was part of hiring 2 superintendents. This is not a task that I would list as a great accomplishment, but something we had to work through all the same. It's very time-consuming. It's a very grueling process. And that's all I'm going to say on that. I just thank you for being willing to serve, and I just want to say let's continue with this positive momentum. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak?
My name is Donald Tillman. I'm at 2748 Thunderbird Circle. Members of the school board, you all received the letter that I intended to read. However, my reading skills are not fast enough to be within the 3-minute limitation, so I will put it on Hayes Post instead. I'll try to be brief and I'll try to be concise. Hayes, like every community across the country, suffers from business workers. Business suffers from workers, and we suffer from daycare. Schools provide, in addition to education, a safe place for a lot of students. So why is this relevant to tonight? This year you decided to go from a half a planning day to a full day, no school. Parents left with no daycare options must now use personal days, or they must use days without pay to stay home and take care of their children. The current schedule is 9 Mondays a year. Mondays for a business is like the worst day of the year. Why not Friday? Why not a different day? I can tell you that at my office at Great Plains Dermatology, half of my surgical team struggles to report to work on those Mondays off because they don't have access to daycare. Frequently, we have to reschedule and limit patients on those days. USD 489 only offers your teachers 4 PTO days, but expect businesses like myself to provide 9 days of PTO for parents that are struggling with daycare problems. I wonder what USD 489 would do if a teacher had 9 days of PTO because they lacked child care for their kids. What would your position be? I can tell you in the real world, it's a real struggle. How would I provide 9 days for one of my employees and not do but the handbook on the rest of the employees? So I can tell you it's a real struggle. Prior to this year, planning periods were half days. After-school care was available to those parents who needed to go to work. It was a low-cost option and provided supervised care necessary to allow families to continue working. However, this year, you changed the rules. It harms, the change in the rule harms the very people who we wish not to harm, young families, people who don't have access to health care and struggling businesses. Unlike snow days, which affect the entire community, this policy affects those who can least afford it. Businesses are attempting to do the right thing, but as I mentioned before, 9 PTO days is very difficult. The school board now must choose how to spend our taxpayers' money. Please rethink this harmful policy. Please find ways to conduct planning periods within the school hours so that you don't negatively impact working families and struggling business. I understand that you will not respond to questions tonight, so is it possible that you have an agenda item scheduled next month so we can hear about
Dr.
the discussion?
We've gone past the 3 minutes. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments? All right, none. Seeing none, we will move on to presentations.
Okay, let's have some fun, right? Okay, we got some famous people in the room tonight. Back in November, our weekend crew was selected to represent our district at the KSB showcase at the KSB conference. These individuals spent 2 days along with some very dedicated adults to have some fun in Wichita, but also do some work during the day and highlight to people who were at the conference exactly what the Weekend Center is all about. And these individuals, hopefully, Dawn, are you going to speak, or is it Lindy, or who's going to, do you guys plan to say anything? Okay. Oh, yes, that's right. We have a small video that Chrissy put together of the highlights, and I'm telling you, it doesn't even do it justice because these guys were awesome those 2 days in Wichita. So let's play the video. I don't know if you caught it there at the very end. I think it was Kobe and Christian got interviewed by Channel 12 out of Wichita. And I wasn't actually sure how that was going to go because I didn't know if they would. I'm telling you, those guys talked for like 20 minutes for like a 30-second clip on the news. He had the tough time all 20 minutes were amazing. And I wish we had 20 minutes tonight to have Christian and Kobe or whomever talk about because you talk about selling and so proud of where they are, what they're doing and what they're a part of. And so I think that's just phenomenal. So Lindy, Dawn, if you got some things. Well, actually I have it's not sweets or anything, sorry guys. But we have a plaque that you can display somewhere in your, place and be proud of what you guys accomplished, because that was quite an accomplishment. They only selected 20 school districts in the state of Kansas, and they had way more than that apply. And so I always say, thank you for representing us in such a first-class manner. It was just awesome, so thanks, guys.
This actually came from $250.
Oh, there you go. Maybe it's in the back. Maybe it's on the back. I don't know.
I'm Dawn Howard, I'm the transition coordinator at the Weekend Center, and I brought my staff here that couldn't do it without them, but we do really appreciate the support of the district, and Jonah wants to say thank you.
Oh, yeah. I would like to thank all of you for paying our hotel rooms. Yeah.
Uh-oh, be ready. Here he goes. You got a time limit. Get that timer going.
All right. So, okay. So the weekend crew is basically designated to help those 18 to 21-year-olds to help them live on their own. And basically, we come up with all sorts of new activities. Like we have been sewing the bookmarks that Kobe was recently passing around. And sometimes during we develop our morning routines and like during the day and stuff like that. You know what? Why don't I give the Board of Education and audience a chance to answer this joke? What do you call a priest who is a lawyer? Anybody? No? Confused.
Father-in-law.
I greatly appreciate every single one. I greatly appreciate every single one of you coming out here. And if you guys need any help with anything, you'll know who to call.
And we invite you to come for a tour or hang out with us any day. Just pop in and check us out. And we also make lunch on Friday from scratch, and you're free to join us at noon Friday. Do you have any questions, Brett?
I just had the opportunity to see this group in action down at the KSB conference, and I was very impressed with everybody and and the staff working and sharing with everybody there. And I just heard a lot of great comments. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We thank you.
We're so glad to have you present.
So I will say that a lot of these kids up here were preschoolers when I was a preschool teacher in the district. So it was an incredible honor to go with them overnight. It was a little bit exhausting, but it really taught me a lot about the kids that we support, and I'm pretty sure every one of them had a really good time. We were a little exhausted by the end of the night.
It was exhausting too.
Yes, but they had a good time, so we do appreciate your support.
Thank you, guys.
The only thing I'll add, this is, and Dawn is, runs this program, and so many, like she said, there's just so many adults who do such a great job, and what they did those 2 days is amazing. But also, I think it should go mention, and Dawn would hate that I'm probably doing this, but she got recognized by, she was the Next Tech's hero, holiday hero for our community, for the work that she does. You're just seeing a little bit of what she's done to develop young people and giving them great opportunities. So we got some tremendous people in our district, and definitely want them to. Okay. Christian, pretty good job, man. You kept it pretty short.
I'm really grateful that you shared the joke of the day because I missed it, and I just want to give a shout out to your social media. Everybody can follow you and get that joke every day. That quality of joke, that delivery is always spot on. It's an excellent thing to do with your time and social media investment. Yes.
Do aim to please.
Yeah, you do.
Another joke. I got one for you.
Okay.
What is a astronaut's favorite kind of candy?
Oh, I don't know.
Starburst.
No? How about a Mars bar?
Okay, we better get him out of here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, and good night.
Well, that was terrific. I don't know how the foundation's going to top that, so good luck.
Okay, so come on up. You're up. At Foundation auction, just as I think they're going to have a report on their auction, and it looks like Chrissy's going to lead the way.
Yep. Okay, we have no jokes and we have no videos, so we're already down. We're down in points here. My name's Chrissy Crow. I'm the president of the foundation, and this is Raymond Haas, however you want to say it. It's Haas. He's the vice president. This is Curtis Brown. He used to be the president, so any questions will be directed at him because he knows more than I do. For those that don't know, the foundation is we are here to support the students and the staff of the district. We have people who donate money, in-kind donations, or we have the auction, which is our biggest fundraiser, our only fundraiser that we do for the district. We just got a large anonymous donation of $17,000 to go towards the food pantries. And so we split it up amongst all of the schools, and they are able to fill their food pantry with that. Just a brief auction rundown. This year we hosted the auction on October 21st, and it's our 5th annual auction. We had 275 people in attendance. Dinner was by Smoke & Co. Schneider Auction conducted the live auction for us. We had 2 raffle prizes, $1,000, and then a puppy. This year we decided to focus on fewer auction items but higher quality and value of the items. So we had 47 live auction items and 91 silent auction items. We were able to raise just over $51,000, and all of that goes directly back into the classrooms to benefit the students and the staff of our district. The first 3 auctions that were held, the funds were used to help pay for the secure entrances of the schools. But since those have been installed and completed years previously, now all the money that is raised just does go back into our account. And teachers and staff of the schools are able to put in fund requests for different classroom items, different projects they have going on that's not covered by the general curriculum budget. So each month we meet and we go over the different funding requests that have been put into us. Things that we've donated to or funded in the past would be crisis kits for the entire district, video production equipment, functional seating for classroom, supplies for the We Can preschool. We funded an author visit to come, and every student got to take home a book with them. We did high altitude balloon materials, classroom sets of books, equipment for the Hayes Culinary Kitchen at the high school, literacy and STEM night supplies, robotic kits, PE equipment, math manipulatives, club startup funds. I mean, you name it, these teachers are asking for it, and we are willing to fund it for them. In 2023, we donated over $26,000 back into the classrooms for our students. Last year, we started a scholarship that was given out at project graduation. This year, we have already bookmarked an additional funding amount to go towards those scholarships. So those seniors are able to use it for universities, VOTEX, trade schools, any post-secondary education that they have in mind after they graduate. We would like to say thank you to all of our sponsors and our donors that helped throughout the community or who attended the event. Without them, this auction is nothing really. The amount of work that goes into this event is a lot. The board members solicit the items, they input the data, they set up, they run the event. The board members put in over 1,000 hours of work just to put the auction on itself. So let me name off the board members. We have Curtis Brown, Brianne Sulzer, Renee Booth, Jess Reeling, Roger Bixenman, Lance Bickle, Raymond Haas, Alan Park, Steph Jones, Andrea Dinkle, Anthony Hernandez, Haley Nixon, and myself. We also want to thank Jeff and Amy Arnold for helping us set up and do the technology for the event because none of us are smart enough to do that. No offense, guys. And the Hayes High football team for their muscles and setting up all of the tables and the chairs for us for the event. It's always a great time. Delicious food, open bar, always fun. Next year, mark your calendar. The auction is October 26th, 2024. Any questions?
So you said, and it went fast, but $51,000. That's great.
Correct.
That is terrific.
Yeah. It's very
Way to
exciting.
go.
Yeah.
Chrissy, I'd like to say thank you. I've been to that event several times. The last 2 years it was scheduled when I was on vacation, so I'm glad you told me the date. Tell my husband not to book vacation. But it's a great community event, and I would like to thank the community for participating in that and giving to that because those teachers need things too, and a lot of it come out of their pocket. So
Absolutely.
grateful to the community of Hayes for
Yeah.
stepping up for that.
Yeah,
So thank
it's awesome.
you.
The community has been great. We have businesses and stores call and say, hey, we heard the auction's going on, we want to donate, without us ever having to go to their door and ask them for gifts or donations, monetary donations. So we really have an abundance of support, and it's awesome to see.
Chrissy, I want to thank you too. Your puppy is no longer a puppy. He's helping with Naples and
Yes,
guidance
yes,
of
he's
the
big
construction
now.
crew.
He's
And
big,
when
yeah.
when I saw him, he was like,
He's big.
He's big now.
He's big,
And also
yeah.
would like to thank Curtis Brown for being the president and being part of that member. And I know he's retiring or going bye-bye, so.
I know. He's still here, though. We got him.
But I appreciate all the
We
effort.
got him hooked
and
for now.
Things that have happened.
Curtis, how long you been with the board now, or with the foundation?
It'll be right at 11 years, I think.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Do you want to add anything, Raymond Haas?
I think the only thing I would add is, when I first came on, we had very limited requests, and Chrissy's done a really good job in the board in whole of promoting to the teachers that we've got money out there to help them. And I think last year was far and above the largest amount of requests and funds that we've provided to the individual classrooms. So I think that's been great as well. So if you know any teachers, let them know we're here and we're here to help.
You're getting postcards this week in your mailboxes, so do be on the lookout for those also.
Here it comes.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, well, that will bring us to item 5, district communications, and specifically the superintendent's report.
Okay. I'll run through some things as we have on our list here. Once again, you've seen bond updates. Roosevelt, if you've driven by Roosevelt, you are starting to see things going up and roofs or decking on top that will eventually be part of the roof are there. We're just, it's good to see that kind of coming together, and it's good that with our weather that we've been experiencing the last couple of weeks, they're still able to do work there because they're not relying on everything. We've got things poured, and it's just as the weather allows for the stuff to go up. We still have lots of renovations going on inside, and we'll continue to do those throughout this year and as well as next fall. Hayes High, once again, weather has kind of slowed our progress. We were going gangbusters there for a while, really making lots of progress. If you've been able to see, there's a footprint definitely developed, and you're starting to see drive lanes and where everything, even the football field, if you've had an opportunity to see, that. So you really it's starting to get an understanding of how it's all going to come together. Of course, things have stalled. We're hoping that we'll be able to get going hard and heavy here this week, hopefully. So that's a little with the bond. I wanted to update the board. Legislative updates. Governor Kelly gave her State of the State address. It's probably been 2 weeks ago, but in her State of the State address, there were some things that specifically touched on education that I wanted to share with the board that she had in her budget recommendations. The first one, and probably as important as anything, is that she's recommending that they fully fund for the base projection of about $5,300 per student, which is it's an increase. Now, just as for the board members and especially new board members, throughout the process, and this goes back several years, there was a lawsuit to fully fund education, and at that time the state Supreme Court ruled that the legislature was not fully funding education, and so they determined that we would get increases, and then at the end of the 5 years, which we're now in that period, we're done with the 5 years, it would take the consumer price index and look at the 3-year average, and then we would get that dollar amount, which would be the consumer price index. So she's continuing to say that that's what she's recommending for funding. Of course, there were things in there that are also, I think, beneficial for us. A little bit of money for professional development. As you know, everything costs a little bit more, and so that's not a huge amount. She's only recommending about $3.7 million that will be spread across all school districts in the state of Kansas. So it's really not a huge increase for us, but any additional dollars for professional development is appreciated. Some mentor teacher aid, that's for teachers who are mentoring new teachers into our program. That's just increasing the dollar amounts. I think they get $1,000 for the first year and then $500 for the second year. They're increasing that, so it'll actually go out to 3 years and getting $1,000. So just trying to get that maybe hopefully going. Mental health intervention, that's the program that we utilize at the high school and middle school for our school liaisons. She's recommending there's an additional $17.4 million added to that program. As we've seen, there's just more need for those individuals to help with helping our kids work through situations.
And are those, Mr. Wilson, are those paid by the district, those people?
Well, we receive, we get 75% is paid by the state. 75% of the liaisons, that we have 2 liaisons, one at the high school, one at the middle school. 75% of the cost are paid by the state, and we fund 25%. I believe I'm correct on that. And then also then, of course, and this is huge, is that she's recommending that the special ed 5-year phase-in of about $75 million, which we're hopeful. We need it. It's crucial. You will have big decisions. If we don't get some help with special ed, and so They say that, we're hopeful that when the governor recommends it, our state legislature will understand that these are things that should be implemented and approved, so.
So it
we're-
is 75 million that is coming in, and what was it?
Well, that she is recommending, that we start a phase-in program of adding 75 million or 74.9
Got it.
each year over the next 5 years. Is that correct, Kyle?
Correct.
Great.
That's the recommendation, where that phase would get us to the 92%, which that doesn't, but get to where we should be by state law.
Great.
So, for us, that would be, if the governor's recommendation was in place, that'd be about an extra 750,000 into our budget to help pay for our teachers.
Excellent. Thank you.
And for those that don't know, I mean, I learned a lot from Kyle, our retreat that we had, of how much special ed actually does for us and how many different areas it covers for us. So Kyle, I don't know if you would have time real quick to just say the different things that special ed covers. Because I learned a lot, and there might be people in the community that don't know that.
Absolutely. Special education, we provide special services for students with exceptionalities, so several different categories of disability as well as giftedness. We provide any special education that is needed above and beyond what general education provides for those students to make sure that they have adequate and equitable education. That goes for students from age 3 all the way to age 21. And all of those supports happen in 20 different schools in our area. So we cover right now Ellis, La Crosse, Victoria, as well as all of these schools. We have special ed services that are provided in Holy Family and CPE that are provided by the district as well. And then, and Russell will be joining us next year, of course. So a lot of different services. We have about 250 employees that are employed through special education. About 80 of those are licensed staff. About another 170 so are paraeducators. And so trying to help support them and make sure we provide what students need while also doing so in a way that fits within the budget. So all of the challenges.
Thank you, Kyle.
I also just included, as the legislative session opened, of course, there's always just a flurry of activities. I included some of the bills that specifically affected education just for you guys to look at, understand. Bills are introduced all the time and they never gain any traction and they just die. And so I don't really want to spend a ton of time, but I might mention, it's sometimes it's a little bit of a circus, and you wonder why people are doing the things they're doing. The first bill that I have on your list is authorizing individuals with revoked driver's license to be able to drive children to school or childcare, which I don't have any concept why they think that would be okay when they've been taken, the license been taken care of. But that's sometimes the craziness of what we see in the legislature. A bill that relates to the school term and would prohibit the beginning of the school year prior to Labor Day. Yeah, which that's interesting, but people have to understand we're required to go so many hours, and if you're not going to start, you're going to be going into June. You'll be going to school in June, which they're not going to like. So it's interesting. I think this is, once again, they're requiring each district to hire an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder specialist. We would absolutely always hire someone. That goes without funding. They're saying you need to hire one, but that doesn't come with dollars attached. So I'm not going to go through all the bills, but I think sometimes as board members, it's good to kind of know sometimes there's a little bit of craziness. I will tell you the legislative session, what happens early on doesn't mean really a lot. Usually it takes about the last 2 weeks is when things really start heating up and we really start to see where we're at. So once again, our funding is dependent upon what the legislature approves, and that's the very last thing they do. So as far as anything that we can do for planning, we have the governor's recommendation. That doesn't mean that they will accept that. Of course, if they don't accept it, there'll probably be some things going back to the state Supreme Court and things like that. So just wanted to share that. Also wanted to talk a little bit about our late starts. We had our very first late start last week for the cold, and glad we actually did that because Russ still is here, but it was kind of interesting. He's always kind of bragged that we've never had buses gel up in cold weather. We had 2 buses gel up on that morning, and the little extra time to kind of hopefully be able to work through those situations was beneficial. He even had a battery. I think he told me a battery froze up. So late starts, we understand. Those are an inconvenience, absolutely. But we also, as we looked at the forecast, thought it's going to be pretty nice later in the day, and if we can just get started. We don't do them willy-nilly. We understand that there is an inconvenience to parents in trying to figure that out, but sometimes it is about getting kids in school, and so that's also a priority.
I'm just curious on that. Do you guys have the numbers for attendance that day? Like, did you notice any higher absenteeism on that day?
I didn't specifically look at attendance. I know in talking to administrators, we had kids that stayed home. We did have kids that actually stayed home that day, which I understand. Sometimes parents are just in a situation, the parents that I did talk to about that, we made an offer to them to come pick them up if we can swing that. So getting kids into school is a priority, and we'll do whatever we can to accommodate as much as we can. Audit updates, KSDE, Adams Brown. Chris, do you want?
We are in the very final end of both our KSDE audit and our Adams Brown audit. So the KSDE audit is looking at this year's enrollment and weightings, and so that's what impacts our final budget. So if you remember at budget time, we adopt the budget based on projected enrollment. Then we have September 20th, and we adjust our budget to September 20th or legal max at that point in time. Now we go through the KSDE audit, and we'll get the final legal max, which isn't actually the last one. We don't get the last one until special ed is calculated in August. But by the next meeting or the second meeting in February, for sure, we'll have KSDE audit report, and I can give you an update on exactly where we fell out with all of the in-year weightings. And then that's also added auditing headcounts and FTE for this year, which would impact next year's budget. So right now, it looks like we're going to be up. We underestimated our at-risk, our free lunches a little bit based on some calculation things. Last year, it was a little bit easier to qualify for free lunches, not in the income ratings, but in how you qualify, how you work through it. We thought that would decrease our numbers a little bit this year. Turns out it really didn't, so we kind of stayed flat. We thought we were going to go down a little bit. So we'll be able to give you a final updates on that. But FTE is going to be up. Free lunches, I think, are going to be up, which means overall budget will be probably up a little bit. So we're finishing off KSDE audit. We are also finishing off our Adams Brown, our local single audit. So they come in and they look at all the federal funds and all the procedures and everything else. They'll be reporting, they'll be visiting the board at the next meeting and giving their audit update there. So.
Okay. And I'd just like to take time, and I'm so glad Kay spent some time thanking the school board for school board appreciation. This is January. This is the time. As you heard Kay, she talked about all the great things going on in our district, and that is a direct result of previous boards as well as you guys who are forming a new board. Just understand that we appreciate the time and the efforts and the energy that you guys put into the job you do. We are being recognized as a district on the move across the state. Absolutely. And you will start to hear about what Hayes is doing. That is a direct result of support that we've had at the board level, because that does not happen without great board members. So I appreciate those who have served and the time that you are going to put on throughout this process. It's greatly appreciated, and hopefully some sweet treats will show you how much we appreciate. So, and then also just there are some results from the Purple Wave sales. That's all I have.
Mr. Wilson?
Yep.
I got a couple questions. I read through the Purple Wave thing. Some things got declined. Is that, they didn't bring enough money, or they were just junk, or they didn't want to sell
Purple
them?
Wave has just said, we're just getting too much stuff that
Okay.
it doesn't bring value
It's not
to
going to sell?
us.
Okay.
So,
Okay, my other question, Roosevelt, when I took that tour, they were supposed to have a section of it done. Did that get completed so they're in?
yeah,
semester?
they're completed with, well, they've opened up one section of the corridor that now allows access
that office area?
inside the building. They don't have to go outside to go around, so.
Okay. And when will the next tour offered for board members be?
Anytime, any day, you give me a
Okay.
call, and
Okay.
I'll take you through it. The high school, once again, that's just a standing invitation at any point.
Okay.
You just let me know, and I'll take you on a tour.
Okay. I have one final. Can you give just a quick, how are school cancellations and the late starts determined?
Well, it's a process. I mean, I would say
How do we go about doing
primarily
it?
it's a combination of collaboration with Russ, primarily Russ and myself from the district standpoint. Like tomorrow morning, we're predicted for some freezing fog. And so Russ and I have already communicated that we'll be up early in the morning to make a determination of exactly how that freezing fog has affected our roadways.
Okay.
I'll also collaborate with surrounding superintendents and what they're doing in the district as well.
We try our best to do the night before, and that's a
Yeah,
snow
absolutely.
forecast.
Yeah, we
probably.
always, this situation tomorrow morning, we just don't know enough. It's just fog. It's not necessarily
I understand.
rain. And so this one's going to be a little tricky, but we'll be up in the morning and make that decision fairly early.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, how many classrooms is it, this first phase have switched into at Roosevelt? Their new classrooms? Has anybody moved into the new ones?
Well, yes. As far as how many, I can't necessarily tell you just off without being able to count. But
So was all the ones that were in the temporary unit?
No,
buildings,
they're still there.
They're still there. They did
Yeah,
not
and
move.
they will be there until next December.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to encourage, like, anybody in the community, if they have not already, go drive past Roosevelt and go drive past Hayes High. I think we drive by it every day to check the progress. It's so cool. Like, I think they let the Roosevelt kids, like, sign one of the beams. They teach them about the construction equipment. Like, it is so cool. I hear about it every day. You get to see it every day. You don't really know how cool it is unless you go see it for yourself. So I encourage you guys to just drive by. Go. Some of those are really big construction equipment. I think one's called an earth mover. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So I encourage you guys to go drive by and look at it.
Right. Anything further? Any other questions for Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Wilson, how does the inspection process work is it done weekly on the new, the renovations? And who does that? Our district maintenance does that, or do you do that, or both combination?
Inspection. Now, what do you mean by
Of the progress and the
Oh,
quality of the
have
work and all
meetings.
that?
We have bi-weekly meetings with the Nabholz team and the DLR team. We have bi-weekly meetings that go through progress. But there's way more than that. We're in constant contact with them throughout that 2-week period. We're always in meeting. It might be a meeting specifically on something else, but
If the staff sees something that doesn't seem to be quite right when they move in it or do it, how, do they just talk to the administrator and they talk to you?
we've
How
had
does that
those
work?
situations. We handle that. We've handled that internally. Yeah.
Now, is that on their dime? Because it's supposed to be done at a certain quality level?
Sure,
Do
I
they
think
come
that-
in and
yeah,
do
everything
that?
that we've asked Nabholz to do, they've done. They've went back, and I don't think we've had any situations.
Okay, we don't have to pay for it twice, so, okay.
No.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Is there any, big things that would be needing changes? Like, is there a certain dollar amount that you come back to the board and talk about, or is it all handled
Well,
administratively?
those dollars have already been allocated through the bond, so anything that's outside of that would definitely come back to the board for your approval, but.
But any major changes with the plans?
Yeah. everything is within the bond budget.
Okay. All right, well then we will move on to our action discussion items, and I need a motion to move into executive session.
Whoa, no. Ken, it's got the first three are scheduled. and then
Oh,
we're
wait,
going-
is it not? I thought it was the very first thing. You have district level administrator.
No, they moved it to 7:4.
Oh, there we go. No one
Yeah.
said that to me. There we go. All right, if you said it, I missed it. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. We will move into the city neighborhood revitalization expansion.
Okay, I think Jared Kuckelman, am I
Yes.
saying that correct?
Yes.
Is here to talk to the board about the revitalization plan that the city has put together.
And if I'm correct, I can cast from here up.
Yeah,
to
if
the-
you just do Windows K, you should be able
I
to.
do have handouts in case there are technical difficulties.
You've taught school before.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Life is a technical difficulty.
Thank you.
Trying to get you hooked up here. Oh, come on. Now, if it doesn't do anything, you're gonna have to get someone else smarter than me.
This laptop is very slow, so I don't make any promises.
Is it? It's not Boardroom West, is it?
No, it's display.
We're in boardroom.
It's 489 BOE route.
That's what we tried.
Yeah, you are saying.
Oh, it's trying.
Just did.
Oh, man, come on. Did you bring a jump drive? Do you have a jump drive?
I do have a flash drive.
Yeah.
that has them on there.
Yeah, that'd probably be the best way. Because for some reason. What's that? No.
Oh.
Okay, so good evening. My name is Jared Kuckelman. I'm the management analyst in the city manager's office, and I'm here to talk to you about a neighborhood revitalization plan, or NRP, expansion. So a little bit of background first, once I get started here. So the city of Hayes first established NRP back in 2002. Since then, it's been updated a few times, but the most recent was in 2017. So the NRP works as an economic incentive by providing property tax rebates for 10 years to property owners who make improvements that raise the assessed values of their property. This can encourage new construction or the rehabilitation and renovation of existing properties that might not otherwise have occurred. So as the NRP is currently structured, residential properties are required to make an investment of $25,000, while commercial properties are required to make an investment of $50,000. Eligibility for NRP is based in large part on whether a property is located within the defined NRP area. So on the left up there, you can see the expansion map that was used in 2017. And then on the right is the map that's being proposed for the expansion today. State statute calls for NRP eligible properties to meet certain criteria, and one of these criteria is age. The proposed map has been drawn to capture many properties that are currently 50 years of age or approaching that age. Many of these properties are located across the northern areas of the city, kind of as you can see captured in the blue, as these areas were built and established throughout the 1970s and 80s as the city of Hayes is kind of expanding towards I-70. So the NRP program has been a successful part of several different projects over the last few years. One such example is the liquor store that is now open at the corner of Vine Street and 8th, which had a major remodel. Another commercial remodel example is the Fort Tavern and Bar, as it was remodeled from the old Wild Rose. A residential example is at 211 East 17th Street, with the original building being demolished and then redeveloped with a new duplex. And then another residential example is at the site of 7th and Oak, which was redeveloped with a new apartment building owned by Mike Graham. So there are a few different reasons for considering an NRP expansion now. The expansion in 2017 was designed to reflect the build-out of the city in 1965, as that captured many of the properties throughout the area that were approximately 50 years of age at the time. And because of that, they would theoretically be ready for renovation and redevelopment. Now that several years have passed since then, the properties that are aging and approaching 50 years outside of the eligible NRP area has grown. An expansion that reflects the build-out now of the city in 1980 could capture many older properties that could potentially benefit from some rehabilitation and redevelopment, including throughout the northern areas of the city. One such example is the areas of North Vine Street. These areas are not tax increment financing or TIF eligible, so they could potentially benefit from an incentive like NRP. The proposed expansion is also designed to capture many properties that are approaching 50 years of age, so not quite there yet. This could help kind of preempt the need for many future expansion efforts and constantly having to come back and ask governing bodies for help in an expansion. So another reason for the consideration of an expansion is that increasing the number of eligible properties can, in theory, increase the usage of NRP, making it more popular and helping make residents aware of it as an incentive. For example, 72 properties have utilized NRP since the expansion in 2017, after only 45 utilizations in the 15 years prior to that. So just as a refresher, this is the proposed map that we have for NRP today. And so besides changing the eligible area, a couple small changes are being proposed to the NRP guidelines and application process. These were requested by staff at the county who do the bulk of the work in administrating the property tax rebates. And I'll just briefly kind of mention them to make you aware, but they don't necessarily affect you guys too much. But it is being proposed to increase the application fee from $100 to $200. It has been set at $100 since pretty much the NRP was first established, and so the increase is being asked to kind of reflect the work that is entailed when administering the NRP. And then it is also being proposed to change the rebate formula for properties on the National or State Historic Registry. These properties currently receive a 100% property tax rebate under the NRP, and it's being asked to change this to 95%, as that is the rebate formula that commercial properties currently receive, and that just kind of provides some consistency on the administrative side for the staff. So there are a couple important steps that have to be taken as part of the process of amending the NRP. First, state statute would require the City Commission to hold a public hearing to allow residents to weigh in. The second would be a resolution has to be approved by all three governing bodies of the city, county, and school district. This is because since the NRP was first established in 2002, the city, county, and school district have all been a part of an interlocal agreement that allows all three entities' shares of the property taxes to be included in the property tax rebates. The wording of this interlocal agreement stipulates that no changes can be made to the NRP without a resolution in support of all three governing bodies. And so that's what brings me before you here tonight to talk about that. So for financial consideration, The NRP works as an incentive as a rebate. It's not an exemption. It's similar to TIF in that the city and the county and the school district do not give up any current revenues. It's just the incremental increase on the properties that go into the rebate for a period of 10 years. So this tonight is just for information only. We're not asking for necessarily any specific actions on your part. The city and county have both already heard this presentation and gave positive feedback. So I'm presenting here tonight to offer a chance for you guys to offer any feedback, ask any questions, and potentially come to any consensus on allowing this process to move forward. Should you elect to do so, we would come back eventually with an official action item on a resolution once the city and potentially the county, depending on scheduling, have also moved forward with some more official action. But I will stand for any questions and answer anything you guys have in terms of feedback or consensus.
Property that was started in this, 5-10 years ago, and we had all those increases, and within that 10 years, they did not increase at all. The ones that are in this program, there's 45 properties.
Right.
They stayed the same from what they were 10 years ago.
So if you participate, you basically would pay what your current rate is, and assuming that your property, the project raised the incremental increase on the property assessment, and it's for 10 years that it would stay that way, and then after 10 years it ends, and whatever it's assessed at, then you would get the full share of the property taxes again.
How is vacant land or lots, how is that? Because there's nothing there now, so they, for 10 years, did they pay that original amount?
Yeah, I mean, so if it's a vacant property, it's still assessed at something, even if it's like $10 or something. And so if you put a building on there for 10 years, that improvement past that, whatever it was originally at, that is rebated to the property owner.
A lot of that property is in the floodplain, and so there's some property you can't use a certain amount of value you can add to property that's in a floodplain. How does that work?
I don't think there's anything necessarily specifically that floodplain necessarily affects it, other than if the project, because it's in the floodplain for some reason, doesn't raise the assessed value very much, then that would affect how much the rebate would necessarily be. But other than that, I mean, as long as the project is able to raise the assessed value, it will essentially create that money that can go towards the rebate.
So
Thank you.
what kind of timeline are you looking at that you're needing a vote and everything?
From you guys, nothing necessarily tonight. If you are all in theory in support, the city could move forward within a few weeks in terms of setting the public hearing. The public hearing would then have to be published and all that sort of thing, and so it would be another month or so before the city commission had even had the public hearing, and then it could be, in theory, March before you guys would have an official action item on this, if that makes sense, depending on calendars and how that all works out.
Well, Jared, I think it's a great plan as far as moving forward. I mean, Mr. Graham's property is a perfect example of housing, of getting rid of the one house and developed how many people in that. So moving forward, and real estate, as far as that goes, with just the new fixing up the buildings, if those ever become for sale again, you're not in a 1970 status, you have moved forward. So I think that's all positive for the city of Hayes, and including USD 49. So I think it's a positive thing.
So all the examples are like businesses or like, residential house to duplex, can just individuals, remodel their house? Okay.
Yep.
And is it 95% for historic, and business, what is it for just homeowner?
I believe for residential, they get a 50% property tax rebate is the formula.
On your website, it says 65.
Okay, yeah, then that would be, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I have it.
So we have to have a minimum of 25,000 cost of whatever we increase the value with, and then
For
we get a
residential.
65% rebate on that tax increase.
Yes.
And it has to be approved in advance. So like,
Yes.
if you.
If
if
you've
you're
already
just-
started, we have gotten some questions like that. If you've already started, I'm pretty sure it's too late for you. And we do get questions about, well, like, does this project qualify or does this project? If you contact the city staff, like our planning and inspection and enforcement division, they would help you out and they know what projects work. And in theory, I think the way it works is in theory, any project could in theory be eligible, but if you're not really raising the assessed valuation, you're not going to really get very much in terms of the rebate. So that's kind of up to property owners what they choose to do. So.
How do I phrase this? We have a housing problem in Hayes. If a person is changing the land and it's a home, they only get 65% of the rebate. But if it's a business property, including apartments or multifamily homes, would it be a business rebate?
I'm not really sure how that works necessarily in terms of I think you're asking if you're like a property developer, like a landlord or something, if you're trying to develop
Or what if you build a duplex and rent out the other half?
It's still considered residential
Is it
improvement.
still considered a residential improvement? Okay. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
I think our answers will be ready to go forward, and we do appreciate you bringing this information to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, our next part, Chris is going to be presenting, so we'll give him just a minute.
Let me do mine, okay. I'll get it to you. Yeah, it's not a I'll get it. All right.
So Chris, you're presenting on our health insurance plan document proposal, and it's all your show, correct?
Okay.
There we go.
So, I'm going to talk a little bit about an issue that we have recognized, and for at least the last 6 years, as long as Kyle and I have been here, we've been working through different ways to look at a problem that exists because of the way our plan document is set up, and our plan document is what defines the health insurance offerings and any of the pre-tax things that we can do. So IRS Section 125. Our plan document is what drives that. So an issue that we run into with classified staff, and specifically, so when we say classified staff, we're talking about anybody that's not basically certified, licensed, so not teachers, not administrators, would be classified staff. We're going to talk about a very specific group of that classified staff, though. It would be our aides and paras. So when we think about aides and paras, think about people that are working in the classroom with kids. They work 9 months, so they work this school year. They would be working under the direct supervision of teacher or administrator. So it's going to be the person at the desk with the kid helping them through activities. It might be the lunchroom supervisor. It might be the crossing guard. But it's those people that work during the school year under the supervision of that teacher or administrator working with kids. Okay, and so what we've run into in that group of aides and paras, we have 3 different types of positions. Okay, so we have some folks that are full-time, and ACA defines full-time, so the Affordable Care Act, ACA defines full-time as 30 hours. Our plan document does also. So anybody working over 30 hours is considered full-time. Then we also have a group that we call part-time. They're working 28 3/4, or about 5.75 hours per day. Okay, and there's a little bit of variation, but the lion's share of our folks are in that part-time group. And then we also have some folks that are hourly, so they're working 18 or less hours in a week. When we think about that group of people, there are 311 positions throughout the district. Right now, about 270 of them are filled. Okay, when we look at the full-time, those people working 30 hours or more, there are 60 of those positions. Where when you look at the part-time, 28 3/4, so they're not working a full school day. School day is 6.5 hours. People that are working part-time, we have 142 of those positions, and then we have another 109 hourly people that are working 18 hours or less. Okay? So when we look at current state, under our health plan document right now, if you are full-time, then we pay for 100% of a single plan, and then we put up to $10.50, or so you either get actual cost up to $829 of a single plan, or we put $10.50 if you're on a dependent plan. So whether it's employee spouse, employee children, or employee family, we put $10.50 towards that. When we look at most of those classified positions, because they're school year positions, they're working around 172 days per year. And so at 30 hours per week on that 172-day calendar, the range of board-paid contribution towards their health insurance plan would be anywhere between $9.65 and around up to $12.21 an hour. Now keep in mind, starting wage for a classroom aide or a lunchroom supervisor or an after-school care worker is $12.91 an hour. So we're putting, if they choose to enroll, we're putting another $12.21 towards their health insurance plan. That's if they're full-time. When they're part-time, under our current plan document, they're eligible for the exact same plans, but the board paid contribution goes down. So if they're working less than 30 hours, the board paid contribution comes out to around $10 an hour if they choose to enroll in a dependent plan, or around $7.25 an hour if they are enrolled in an employee-only plan. Okay? And then 18 and under are not benefits eligible. So a lot of those are the after-school care workers. A lot of those, quite frankly, are the college kids who are working around their college schedule. So if we look, so that's our current plan document. That's how we say this is how we administer benefits. When you look at ACA and what ACA requires, it requires that you have an adequate plan. Every one of the plans, we offer 4 plans, 4 tiers, different deductibles, and we also offer a health savings account, a high deductible health plan. You get a health savings account on. Every one of those plans are considered an adequate plan, so they meet ACA. So really, if we were looking at providing benefits based on ACA requirements, we would look at affordability. So in order to calculate affordability under ACA, that is 9.12% of what their wages are here. So we call it, it's called safe harbor. So we know $12.91 is our starting wage, right? So we would, and you would base it on 30 hours per week or 130 hours a month. So if we take $12.91 an hour times 130 hours in a month, ACA says you can't, in order to be affordable, it can't cost more than 9.12% of that. That's $153 a month. So basically, ACA says if you have someone working 30 hours per week, you have to have a plan that they could purchase for $153 or less per month. An individual plan, okay? So, looking at, like, we can't do that right now because we don't have one plan document. This is the rate sheet. So this is our health enrollment rate sheet for our current plan document. And you can see the first green column is the monthly cost for a full-time person. And this is anybody in the district, but if we're talking specifically aides and paras, this would be those people that are working 30 hours a week or more. We have 60 of those, so we have 60 people that are eligible for that first column of board paid benefit to offset and make their cost that. You can see there's 3 plans that the cost is actually 0, right? So we're including a 100% of the premium for 3 different plans. Our part-time people, what we need to look at is our ACA plan, or the benchmark plan would be that $5,000 deductible plan. If you look at what a part-time person is paying right now, it is $192 a month, okay? So when we look at that, and I'll tell you, in the last 6 years as we've looked at this, this is the 3rd time that we've vetted out different ways to try to address some of the issues. If we looked at creating a second plan document, some of the things that, one thing that we'd have to keep in mind is $153 a month, right? Right now it's $192. So the reason we've been looking at this is because right now, you saw, we have 60 people that are considered full-time, 140 something, really 240 by the time you put in the hourly people that are less than full-time. We have set that limit on ourselves because we have to be able to make sure we can afford to compensate those people, not only their wages, but also the benefits that we provide. So because of that, we have to limit how many full-time people we can hire. When we do that, that means now we're hiring most of our paras that are working less than the school day, right? So think about that now. If you're working in a classroom for a teacher, we've got multiple people coming and going because I can't have somebody there the whole day because they only work between 18 and 28 hours in a week, right? So 5 hours a day, 5.5 hours a day. So now we've got inconsistent support for kids. We've got teachers that are having to supervise multiple people because they don't have the ability to have one person consistently. Another problem that we have run into, especially over the last couple of years, is just being able to staff things like lunch duty or crossing guard duty in the morning or after school care work after school. Right now, because of the way our plan document is set up, if you're working at 28, you're working in one of those 28 3/4-hour positions, I can't hire you to do after school care because that puts you in a full-time position now. I can't afford to do that, right? So we don't really have much flexibility. We're limiting people who might want to work more hours in a week, but we can't allow them to do that because we can't afford to do it. Along with that, Kyle did recently, in the last 2 years, has done exit interviews or exit surveys with staff. 60% of the people that have left in one of these aides or classroom positions have reported wages and hours as very important to their job. 30% of them have reported benefits as important to them. So we're hearing from people pretty consistently, I need to work more than 5.5 hours a day. I need to work more than 1,032 hours in a year in order to make this work. And we have to limit them because we can't afford the benefits that would go with becoming 30 hours a week. Okay? So the budget is limiting the number of positions that we can provide. So where we're at right now is if we looked at creating a second plan document, okay, so we keep our plan document right now that's negotiated with the NEA and for the teachers and everybody else, but we create a second plan document that is specifically for aides and paras, people working 9 months in the year, working under the teacher in the classroom. If we created a second plan document for them and we made the board contribution match that ACA number, right? So we looked at $153 for an employee-only plan. Then we would be able to hire people full-time. And if they were working at 6.5 hours during the day in a classroom, they could also choose to work after school care if they wanted to, or they could choose to work before school. They could be a bus monitor. They could do other stuff in the district because they're already eligible for a health insurance plan at full benefit, which would be set up based on that ACA benchmark. Okay? Now, for 61 people that are currently full-time, that would reduce the amount that they're getting towards their health insurance. So in order to make this thing work, we create that second plan document, we set up a structure that matches ACA contribution, but then we go to those 61 people and calculate individually, this is how much we're currently putting towards your health insurance, but because you're moving over to the new plan, we can do a wage adjustment for them so that their take-home stays the same. Our cost stays the same because instead of putting in health insurance, we simply put it at their wage, right? But then you can set the health benefit eligibility at 30 hours, have the default now as we're hiring paras and aides. There's still going to be some that we need that are going to be 18 hours. There's still room for that, but we would be able to set the default at the school day. And then over time, I believe what we'd see is probably total less numbers because we'd have people working more hours and be able to fill the gaps and provide better services for kids and teachers anyway. So, and as we do that calculation, we would first set, okay, this is what the health insurance premium is. So for example, if it were calculated based on our current plan right now, $153 contribution towards, or I'm sorry, that we would set our contribution to make sure that that $5,000 deductible individual plan for an aide or parent in that group cost $153 a month. That would allow us to move them from 5 3/4 hours a day to 6.5 hours a day. So now they're working more hours, which is what they said, what people consistently tell us they want. And the plan costs $153 instead of $193 right now in our current plan. So it is a big win for those people that are currently working part-time and that would be able to move to full-time, right? The loss for the people that are currently full-time, as we calculate that out, we would go through and look at each person individually, and for example, if Jamie, if we had to move this much over, you might get a $2 an hour raise to move what we were putting in health insurance and put it towards your wage. And then Derek, it might be $1.57 based on what your wage is right now and what your plan you're enrolled in. But we would go down the road for each one of those 61 people and calculate individually what does it cost them so their take-home stays the same. We simply take what we were putting in health, give them a one-time raise to levelize and make their total take-home stay exactly the same. Now, right now I'm giving you examples of what it might cost because I want to be able to talk in theory, and if this is something that the board wanted to go forward with, the things that would happen next. The first thing that would happen next is we would have a meeting later this week with each one of those 61 people and explain to them, it sounds scary, we're going to change, we're looking at changing the health plan, but we will hold you whole. Your take-home will not change because we're simply going to move where you're getting the money. For the part-time people, there's nothing but good news, so there's nothing, we wouldn't necessarily be in a hurry to sit down with them. So we would do that, to have a conversation, to let them know it's going to be all right, we're going to take care of you. And then after that, we'd have to wait until we get our health insurance renewal, because remember that the $153 is what it could cost them, but as the health insurance, as renewal comes, we have July 1 plan document, we will get our renewal rate in the next 45 days probably. Once we know exactly what the plans cost, then we can set what the contribution is. Then we would probably wait till raise time and see what the raises are, and then once we know what that starting wage is and what the health insurance costs, we can calculate exactly what the dollars are going to be. But in order to do all those things, I guess we wanted to present it to you first. Decide, or you tell us, do you want us to move forward with this plan? I will tell you again, in 6 years we've tried, it feels like 1,000 different ways, but there's really been 3 different times we felt like we got close to having the right answer, and at every point we pulled back at the last minute because it wasn't the right answer. This feels different. This feels like we've got a way now to do this, and I'll tell you, it's been through working with a broker at Gallagher, as well as with Hinkle Law, which is the benefits legal counsel out of Wichita that works with a brokerage firm, but they're a national player in health insurance and ACA and all of those things, and so we feel like we've got the right plan now. As far as cost to the board, and again, we won't know those exactly until we have exact rates on the health plan and everything else in renewal. But in order to do this, if we were to move all of those 5 3/4 hour people to 6.5 to match the school day, that would cost the district about $40,000. It would cost the special ed co-op about $80,000 because they have that many folks in that pot. But again, that's a one-time cost that I think will start to come down over time as we realize one person can do this job now instead of 2 because we don't have the limitations of how many hours they can work in a week. And we'll have parents that want to do after-school care and pick up more hours. So I think the total number of bodies will go down, and I think that total cost will come down over time. But the initial investment will be there the first time around.
So Chris, you said, right now we currently have 60 full-time employees?
We have 60 full-time classroom aides or pairs.
Okay, and how many of them, those are eligible currently for our health insurance?
Right.
How many of them currently take our health insurance?
Because it's free, every one of them does.
Every one of them does.
Right. When you look at the 149 part-time people that take it, I think there was about 25.
Because it's not affordable.
Right.
And
they work so few hours over the course of 9 months only,
They wouldn't take
so
anything
then
home.
they don't have hours to offset costs, so it becomes very unaffordable for them. This allows us to give them more hours, and it will actually bring the rate down just a little bit.
So if the part-time people take this option and we adjust their salary to give them a raise so it compensates for the difference, and then they get put on, they get married, put on a spouse's plan or anything like that, how do we adjust for that?
So what I would be proposing is we make the adjustment at a point in time. So at renewal time, this is what you were enrolled in. We calculate to say this is how it equalizes, and then they have that raise going forward. After that, then they're in the plan like everybody else. Was that the question?
No,
Like what
I'm
happened?
saying the opposite way. They get out of the
Okay.
plan because,
Oh.
like I said, they get put on their partner's plan or whoever's. and-
Yeah, we wouldn't take the wage away. It would be a one-time correction based on what they're enrolled in. So,
It's what it is.
yeah.
When is Gallagher's contract up, or when do we renegotiate that? Or is that in July?
Our
You said this is through Gallagher, which is,
well, we consult with Gallagher as our broker. But
And our health insurance-
plan renewal is July 1.
July 1.
Yeah.
So are these positions now that are considered full-time, they're not paid hourly, you said?
No, they are.
They
Yeah,
are
every
paid
one of
hourly.
these positions are classified, they're paid hourly.
Okay, so what's considered overtime for those people?
We don't have anybody that's.
You don't have anybody
I
that
mean,
would do it?
40 hours would be considered overtime,
Okay.
but we're not, in none of these positions are anywhere close to, I mean, if, in a week, if you went to KSB, say you were going with weekend crew or something, you might hit a week where you'd get overtime, but it's almost non-existent.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those that you look at, because it is expensive, if they chose not to take it, because that would save the district money, if they didn't take the health insurance, obviously, and instead of doing an increase in their hourly pay, if you did a payback per paycheck, they get paid monthly. Do these people get paid monthly?
Yeah, yes, they get paid
Okay.
monthly.
If you did a payback to them, instead of paying it on them hourly, that they get it paid back, that could be less cost to the district because it wasn't increased in their hourly pay, but they still get the funds back. So it could be calculated as an other source that you still get paid back. For example, my business, if you don't take our health insurance, so I'm under my husband's plan, I get paid back every other week because I didn't take the plan, which saves the business money.
So that could be something we would potentially look at in this plan. In our current plan document, it's a take it or leave it. So there isn't any payback. That could be something as we're investigating details, looking at a way to build that in. Are you saying, just to be clear, are you saying instead of doing the raise to equalize, we say, okay, we'll still just cover that amount for you, it'll just be a payback if you enroll in that plan?
Correct, so instead of getting 12, instead of going to 14.25 an hour, you would get this paid back to you, so you'd still get back, it'd just be as another compensation.
So that might be something we need to look at. I've run that through Nickel and Gallagher and figure out how we, if that was an option to put that in the plan document that way.
Yeah, because
And again, it would be specifically for the aides and paras plan document.
especially like they said, if you don't take the health insurance, it only saves the district money
Yeah.
because you don't have claims, you don't have all that to calculate in the end.
Right.
So that saves the taxpayer money in the end as well because you have another way of compensating that employee who's benefiting the district by not taking the plan.
Yeah. So that's worth looking at.
And most of those part-timers are college kids, aren't they?
Almost all of the 18 hours, the
18.
hourly people are college kids.
Okay.
Probably, there's a good percentage, I don't know for sure off the top of my head what it is, but there's a good percentage. We are blessed to have the college kids working for us and to be here because the conversation in districts that are not in Hayes with the college population are that they just have unfilled positions. We still have a lot of unfilled positions. But we're stitching together with the 18-hour college kid, having 4 of them coming and going in a classroom where one person working 6.5 hours a day.
Have you surveyed that group to see if they are interested in more hours?
We're talking to you first to find out if there's interest in moving forward. And if there is, we will talk with that group. If there's not interest in moving forward, then no, there wouldn't be any reason.
But I think the thing is, we are interested in more hours because that provides consistency for the student to have individuals who they know and they're not transitioning, staff who are having to tell new people coming in, oh, okay, so here's where we're at and this is what's going on. It's going to alleviate a lot of staff issues as well as student issues. So this is a dollar, thing, but really I don't want to forget this is really about the mission of providing a valuable experience for our kids every day and the consistency that we'll be able to hopefully get to in terms of having more full-time employees.
This is easily better, this is easily better for kids and teachers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
A huge difference, in just the recruitment and the retention of staff would be huge, like the impact of this would be huge in that area. The difference, when you look back 10 years ago to now, of the para-educators and the experience that our para-educators have, we just have so much turnover because there's people are with us for 2 or 3 years and then they go because they need more hours, they need something else. So getting back to where we can, all the time that we invest in training and support and all that will just be paid back.
So do you think what we saw in personnel was a lot of changeover today? Do you think that would have prevented some of that or not?
So much of that, so much of that are the college kids because their class schedule changed. So we pick up 2 new ones, we lost 2, and these 2 go from Mondays and Tuesdays to Wednesdays and Fridays. So if we're able to hire 6.5-hour paras and they stick, yes, it will make a huge difference. Again, we'll still have a pot full of college kids working 18 hours or less because they're doing the after-school care, but we'll also be able to fill the after-school care workers with paras who are working the day and want to work another couple hours that afternoon. Some of them won't. If they don't want to, that's okay, but now they would have the option to do that if they wanted. So, again, I cut you off, but I think, yes, exactly right.
I think the one thing we look at is the win-win you mentioned about the college students. I mean, that is a great resource for those kids to start at it because they don't want more than 18 hours. And I could see a few people in the audience today who started as paras and they became teachers because they were able to do that. So I think if we eliminate it to all full-time people, then you're going to lose some of those people that it's kind of a opportunity for us to see those kids and see them operate and learn. And so I hope we don't take that away.
I think we'll still have plenty of part-time people, hourly or part-time people. It's just a matter of trying to get more of our, we consider only 60 out of the 200 and some people are able to get full-time. There's a couple more hours that would work full-time if we had a position available. That would be a benefit. And we'll still have those other staff members that are helping support the people that are going on in being teachers that we'll always have a place for them. But having enough full-time people for the consistency across all of our schools, that's so great.
That's, yeah, well, we're not going to fix our problem of not being able to fill positions with this. We'll still have a million college kids.
Out of those 60,
We'll be able to take a lot of the people that we have that are in that group of 140 who we have to limit the number of hours they work because that's what we can afford. And by letting them go to full-time, we'll have a lot better chance of keeping them around. And then having the college kids fill in truly where we need some fill-in instead of having to, instead of that being 110 people.
Out of those 60 that are full-time, most of those are special ed, aren't they?
Actually, they're about 20 or 20 to 25.
So almost half?
Right.
Okay.
And in Head Start, there's about
27.
a couple of ALL.
So less than a third is district
Yes.
out of those? Okay.
So how do you see this progressing?
So what, basically, if you say, yes, go work on the details, we want to vet this further and we want to move forward, we will meet with those 61 people Wednesday afternoon and let them know this is what we're looking at. And then at that point, we'll start digging through and bring the details. At some point, I don't need board action right now because I don't have the details. Once we have renewal rates and we know what the health plan is, then I would come to you and we would adopt a second plan document, section 125 plan document. So we'd go to work, get the details taken care of, and come to you probably in March, late March, with a plan document to adopt.
And what it would cost as far as our budget, and what piece of the pie it's going to take?
Yeah.
So, and at that time, you'd be able to give us clear-cut answers to questions.
Yeah.
But Wednesday, you've got an opportunity for this Wednesday, you're going to be, tomorrow, next week?
Once we have confirmation from you, we'll send out an email to those that are impacted for a Zoom meeting on Wednesday afternoon. If that will be recorded, those who can attend, great. If you aren't able to, it'll be recorded for their information, then we can schedule it.
So from what I hear you saying, that you're going to compensate them so they're not going to have a cut in their pay.
Right.
And because those are your veteran people that's been with their district for 20 years or so.
Yeah, that would be the other board action, is giving individual raises to those people to offset what isn't going towards their health insurance anymore and would now go towards either a rebate or hourly rate increase.
And implement this at the end of July, after the budget's set.
All right, so what I'm hearing is you want to kind of get a feel for what we're thinking, and I'm good with it, but any comments that want to be made?
I'm for moving forward with that, absolutely.
More information is
Great
good.
job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. All right, and so we will move on to 6.3 KASB recommended policy updates.
Yeah, I'll
Mr.
try to run
Wilson.
through these fairly fast. What you have in front of you are just recommended policies from KSB. This is something that we'll periodically do throughout the school year. It's about 2 times a year. You'll have different policy updates, and unless there's some other things that we just decide to do on our own. What you have is, I'll try to run through these just so you, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. And once again, we'll bring these back next meeting for your approval. The first one is evacuations and emergencies. Basically, that is just language. As we have had, this is recommended by the state, but as schools have had emergencies and evacuations, sometimes we see situations where people are wanting to come to the school during an evacuation or emergency and they want to grab their kid. Basically, it's just giving school administration the authority to say, we don't feel this is a safe time for you to leave with this student. So we're going to not allow this student to leave. And that's just putting some language to give administrators some authority to understand there are situations. You know, I'll give you an example. If there's a tornado in the area and someone pops up and says, I want to take my kid home. What this does is we can deem that, hey, this is not safe to let that kid go. We're going to say no. So that's just giving some language, policy, and that this is being recommended by KSB. There is a policy on food service management, basically these are things that have, you know, and then naturally you see policies as things have popped up. There's been a lot of talk about, I guess, in what they call food shaming, where students who have unpaid meal charges are food shamed. And so this is just putting some language in our policy that we will help us kind of maneuver through the unpaid charges. We're very fortunate in our district. You heard, I think Chrissy talked about the food pantry donation. We have a lot of people that are really committed to kids and making sure kids are fed in this community, so we're very lucky. Same way with our meal program. We are very fortunate. We have individuals who donate money to our district, and we have those funds, and if we have situations, we're able to help families pay those off. So I would say we're very seldom do we have unpaid, you know, meal accounts. Parents usually try to make as much, you know, to work as much, and if they're in situations or hardship situations, we help them out. However, you do have to have some policy for those situations, or if a situation where we just don't have the funds available to help out. We do have to, I mean, it is a cost to us in terms of if people are continuing to rack up charges. So you have some language that really falls in line with how we're currently utilizing the unpaid meal charges, but like I said, I don't know if we've had to actually exercise it for quite a while because we've just been very fortunate to, and we work with families and understand situations and knowing that, you know, if they can, we can give you some help for this month, next month, but then maybe later on. So, but that's that policy. There's a policy on pregnant and parenting employees. Of course, this is just standard, you know, protocol. And we do this. This is something we ought naturally do, but we're required to provide a space for a mother to, you know, nurse or pump, and also give employees time. So it's just putting language into our policy that says that's what we will do. The military uniformed service leave policy, basically that's not really, it looks like lots of changes, and basically all that policy is about is it's expanding from saying specifically Army, Navy, Marines to a uniformed service, and they're kind of expanding to open up because we have so many different areas. And then basically in a nutshell, that's what that leave. And that if they need leave, we're required as an employer to grant that leave. Release of the student during the day. This is a different policy than the one previous. That one was for emergency and evacuations, but it's very similar. If as administrators, if we deem something unsafe, we have language that is being proposed to you to adopt that could say, we don't feel it's safe for you to take your kid right now, and we're going to deny that. So that's that language in the release of student during the school day. Student misuse of medication. This is something there's probably something in all our handbooks already. If a student is dispensing medication to themselves or others that is not through our health room, following the protocols, then we can there can be discipline actions put in place. It's stuff we've probably been doing. It's just we don't have a board policy. We have some. It's in our handbooks, I'm sure, but we don't actually have a board policy. And actually, it's kind of funny. The last one, which is kind of similar to the misuse, it's student self-administration of medications. I found it kind of funny. They made the changes, and the only thing that they made changes is they added an and they added an or. But you can approve those changes. So that is, I guess, a quick summary of the policies. Once again, if you have any questions at any time, please get in touch with me. We can talk through this. Bring those exact same policies back to you next meeting for your approval.
So I guess I'd probably have a problem with the EBBD and the JBH as far as giving administration authority to say parents can't take their kids, so.
Yeah, the thing is, there's some liability issues that fall on us as a school district in terms of, and that's being recommended from the state, who their attorneys, and it's not us saying that.
Yeah.
But I would tell you that it's just language being put into policy. Our administration, I'm sorry. Our administration will have to make certain calls about, what that, I think we work really well with parents. I mean, I don't perceive this to be an issue of us saying no. I would say it's probably never going to ever come into play.
Well, then I don't think we need a policy
If
for
a
it.
parent really truly wants it, we're probably going to allow them to go. But I do think it's important that we do have something in policy that says, just for our liability standpoint, that we do have the ability to say, that was probably not smart.
Well, that makes no sense as an argument if you're going to let them do it anyway, but then the policy says you.
Well, okay, I'm not here to debate you. I'm just telling you that's what the.
Well, I'm just saying, if this is the
KSB
first reading, we're
policy-
going to have the second reading next week, or next meeting, take a vote, like, this is probably the time to talk about it.
So, you also mentioned, Dr. JBH. This is about releasing a student to people
Yes.
who may or may not be legally allowed to take students.
That's
It's not about,
specifically on a parent or legal guardian.
Yeah.
Right.
And that absolutely, we would not do that. If
Yeah.
you're- if
Verifying
you're
the
not listed,
identity,
we're-
so
we
this
can't
is
let-
like-
And we can't
this is not a
verify
problem.
that we would not.
I mean, I think also this would cover if the person seeking release of the student is not in a safe status. So if, say, someone comes to pick up their kid and they're drunk.
Yeah, I think that's a legal issue, and you let the police get involved if you're that concerned about their immediate safety.
But I think this is covering.
This is
the
covering that
school,
ability to do that.
So they
Yeah.
can't come back and say that you won't let me take my child, and the school can say, well, you were putting the child at risk. And so they could call the enforcement officials.
No, I think that the administrator should call the law enforcement to say, hey, this is not a safe situation. I don't think this is I understand on face value, and if it's used, in the best nature, great, it probably has no problems, but I can see it being misused, so I
My
personally do
concern
not
would
like
be
it.
like, if they call the law enforcement officials, and then in that time, the parent says, well, I'm gonna invoke my right and take my kid whether or not, I think it allows the administrators to say, no, you're gonna wait here until they at least get here, because we can hold you, and then it would be out of their hands, but it covers them until that happens.
And these are policies, and these are what we govern ourselves with. So if you have suggestions, we could pull out individual ones and look at them and get some ideas, and we can prove these one by one. We
Okay,
don't have to
that's-
prove the whole group.
That's what I guess I was kind of getting at, like, come next meeting, we can.
Yeah, absolutely. You can change whatever you want to change, if that's the prerogative. Once again, I would tell you that's any changes you make, once again, we would run it through our counsel, Mr. Jeter, and I also would reference KSB, because that's the legal team at KSB is the ones who put this policy together.
But it said review and adopt if considered helpful. Like the recommended action is review and adopt if considered helpful. Doesn't seem like a staunch, this should be adopted. Like on the very first page, it says review and adopt if considered helpful. It doesn't say, hey, this is a level A recommendation that should be done. It's kind of just a guideline, I think, that they think is a possibility, the way I read it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was saying.
And Mr. Wilson, we don't have to adopt all these next week meeting.
Absolutely,
We could
but
take 2 or 3 months on a certain one if we need to
Yeah.
get it right, the way
Absolutely.
we all agree on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. Is there a reason why we didn't get these back when they were sent to you and the clerk and the board president back in December? Can we get this the next time? Can we get them as soon as you get them so that we have time to look at them?
Well, just like you said, there is no timeline on this, so this can, and I can't honestly tell you why. Well, I mean, well, I don't know when I got them, but the thing is, we determine through the agenda what works, so, yeah. I don't think there's any timeline.
We could get the information. I mean, you got them in December 1st, so we could get them and look at them, even though we're not brought on the agenda item here. I mean, if we get them a month in advance, that'd be great. just
Where-
give us more.
I don't know, where do you
opportunity
see
to
that we got it
Look at
December
that.
1st?
look at it. KSB sent those out
It just says
December
December
1st. You got a
20th.
copy
It
of
just
it?
says December. It doesn't have a date.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
they
but
give us-
this is our
Mr.
first meeting since this.
Yeah, I was gonna
mean,
say.
I
Okay,
don't
well, I
remember.
checked it out, and KSB told me today that they were sent out December 1st, so you can look on your email, you probably have one.
Yeah, but there's no timeline on this, Alan. I mean, that's
I
the
understand
thing.
that, I'm just saying, it'd be nice to have that information.
That's why we have a first read and a second
Yeah.
read, is so we have time to look at it.
Okay, what's the reason I'm keeping it? You have that information, why can't you just give it to us?
Like I just said, we have a first read and a second read. This is our first meeting since we've had it. There's not much else I could say on that.
Honestly, they're not sent to you, that you're just, I mean, just, I look knowing that December is the time that policies usually come out, so.
And what I would suggest before our second read, if you look through this, you have questions, if you've got one that you want to be separated from the others, let Mr. Wilson and myself know, and we'll put that on the agenda like that.
Thank you.
All right, so then at this time, we're going to go ahead and make the motion to move into executive session. Mr. Viner, since this was your motion, who all would you like to have in this meeting?
Mr. Jeter and 7 board members.
All right. So I'll make the motion to go into executive session pursuant to Kansas Open Meetings Act for the purpose of personnel matters for non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interest of an identifiable individual. The open meeting, the open meeting will resume in the boardroom. We'll take 10 minutes. Our meeting will start at 8, I'll say 8:40. We'll take 10 minutes, and we will have the board members, Mr. Jeter, and
We're going to take a 10-minute break,
that's what I'm saying. We're taking a
Or we're-
10-minute break.
and then we'll start our closed session at 8:40.
Yeah, we'll
Just
start
to
our
clarify,
executive
sorry about that.
session at 8:40. So
Mr.
that
Brooks?
is the motion.
Is it possible that we could, it's a lot easier to move 8 people to someplace than moving 50 people? Is that
Well,
an
this
option? Can we go next door?
This is
or-
our last action of the night. Let's go ahead and stay in here. It'll be quicker and easier.
Okay.
What's the rate of returning?
We are returning at 8:50. All right, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, vote yes.
Well, I made the motion.
What's that?
I second
I
it.
made the motion.
Oh, no, I made the motion on this
Okay,
to
second.
define
All right.
it all. So I've made the motion, Mr. Viner has seconded. All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. We will meet in 9 minutes. And then there will be a vote afterwards. We will be back open.
Oh, yeah, I need an earpiece. I need
questions about the contract process or what this means through this
Down the road.
discussion in public.
What's that?
And it can also be down, the contract discussions down the road.
Right, we can have specific, but this is,
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
And I'll send all of the idea of what
Are you
Because I would have.
That must be the old, all the old. That's what factors. As well as teachers. As well as teachers. They wouldn't be. Anyway.
All right, we are back into open session. And we are at 7.4, the district level administrator contract extension.
Mr. President, I would like to move that we approve the extension of these contracts as requested.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, and Mr. Wilson, anything that you'd want to add to this? Okay.
Is
Any
this,
discussion?
Mr. Brooks, this is Mr. Wilson, 3 assistants, and is this building principals as well?
No, I'll bring those to you next.
So it's just
District.
district?
office.
Okay.
Yeah. Kyle's,
Oh, yeah, okay, just the 4. Okay, I got it.
any further questions, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, I will be voting against this, not because of the 4 people that are sitting right there. It's just the process is too fast. We spend months working with the teacher contracts, and we get 15 minutes to discuss this, and I think that we should do our due diligence and spend more time actually looking at the evaluation. We just looked at parts of it. We haven't been able to look at the whole evaluation. That was, I mean, we have the pieces that we have, but I just think that we should be doing a better job of looking at that.
What we're doing today is letting them know that we will be looking at their contract in the future, and that we're recommending that their contract be extended because we do want to keep the staff here.
I understand that, Mr. President. I just think that we just extended a 2-year contract, so waiting a few weeks just to have a special meeting, so we'd spend a whole hour or so, just makes sense to me. But rushing through and just automatically doing it without due diligence is a concern of mine.
You will be hard pressed.
Yeah.
You will be hard pressed to find anyone who cares about every student every day than these 4 people right here.
That has nothing to do with that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the process is rushed and it's not, we don't do it justice.
I agree as a first. I had no access to the valuations. I have nothing to base a vote on to extend it. If we could put off for a week, have a special meeting and actually have time to review that stuff as a new board member, it might change my mind. But right now you're asking me to vote on something that I know nothing about.
And I feel like a week isn't going to do anything for me because I never worked with these people until today. I think, kind of like Mr. Jeter said, we're not reviewing the contract, we're reviewing the evaluation that you all performed on Mr. Wilson, or however you did it. I wasn't part of that. So I think tabling it again is just extending it further. Yes, okay, maybe due diligence needs to be done moving forward of how we do it next year. But I think right now, we move forward with what needs to be done for tonight's meeting and just performing it and basing whatever vote we have to do off of his evaluation. There is no contract that we are looking at. Is that correct, Mr. Jeter?
That would be correct. You're just notifying these 4 administrators that you're going to offer him a contract for another year. You have yet to determine salary increases, if any, days, contract days, as Alan mentioned, whatever else it may be.
Also,
So
can
the
I,
specific terms of the contract is for determination at a later point.
can I clarify too, just as a organizational structure, Mr. Wilson reports to us, correct?
Yes.
And
Mr.
the rest of
Wilson is
those three
the
people-
only employee that's hired by the Board of Education.
And the other three people are hired by Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And he is asking us to follow his direction, and we have also completed our evaluation of Mr. Wilson. And he is asking us to trust him in his job that we've just evaluated.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the district administrator contract extensions 1 year signify by voting yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no.
No.
Abstain.
All right, and so am I correct that it passes?
Yes, motion carries.
All right, and that is our last